Hello and welcome to the first episode of More Sports. I'm your host, Devin Moore. So I figured I'd get this podcast started off by introducing myself and how the show's going to run. Like I said, my name is Devin Moore, and a little background history about myself. I just recently graduated with a bachelor's degree in business administration with a concentration in sports management. So I actually know what I'm talking about when it comes to sports. And like this thing says, More Sports is a sports podcast, and how these things work is I will give my own opinion on certain details that's going on in the sports world and a variety of sports, from NFL to UFC. Okay, so the first subject I want to talk about is about Kyle Murray. And I found this interesting article. It says Kyle Murray continues his legendary ways with Cardinals. In the article, it gives a background history of Kyle Murray, how he just, he's been just dominating in high school and college football, and a lot of people think that he's going to dominate with the Cardinals and, win. And as everybody knows, the Cardinals this year went 3-13. But in my personal opinion, I think he's going to lose a few games this season. I mean, they're going to win, obviously, more than 3, I think, but he's eventually going to break that streak. Now, the reason I say this is because of one thing, is that it's all about culture. One person cannot change a culture of a team. You can, get all these people and hope this one person does, but at the end of the day, it involves everybody, from the locker room to in the front office. Not one person can do this on their own. That is why I think the chances of him maintaining this winning streak is low. Like, I'm talking about, say, 5 or 10%, maybe less than that, maybe 3. But who knows? The NFL is an interesting thing, and that's another thing. NFL is a whole lot different than college and high school and middle and pee-wee. Now these guys are monsters. I actually had a boss who interned for the Ravens about a few years back, and he's been telling me stories how those guys are just monsters, and you won't believe how stuff they do. So. Well, it'll be interesting if they do go to, say, a playoff appearance this year. Thanks to Kyle Murray, I'll be surprised. And that's all I have to say on the subject. All right, so this next item actually caught my attention last week, and I'm surprised it got any buzz. And that was with the hiring of the new Laker coach who came from college. I forget where, and I honestly forgot his name, but that caught a little buzz. And to be honest, I'm not really surprised that a D1 college coach is going to the NBA. I mean, some of the things, you go big or go home. But while I was doing my research, they haven't had a lot of success. And there's a reason for that. Number one is, basically, everybody's an adult in the NBA, and they're not really going to listen to you per se. And, yeah, it'll be a struggle. That's why you see so many of them struggling. That's why when I was doing research in an article that I found, all of these coaches that did great in, Division I college basketball, didn't do so great in the NBA, and I think that one of the reasons is because, it's out of respect. Obviously a lot of those college coaches, they bring in kids that are like 18, 19 years old, and by the time, they're in their 20s, they have, other respect for their coach, and they're like a role model and stuff. Things like that, and it's not really surprising to me. And me personally, if I was, in college athletics, I would personally go into the pro level, just try it out. But as we all know these days, pretty much with the exposure with the NCAA, having all these TV contracts and, all these coaches, they're getting in these commercials. I remember seeing last year UGA's head football coach, Kirby Smart, and Chevy commercials all the time. So, really, in my opinion today, it's not a big deal on exposure-wise, but really it's all about just having that experience and saying, hey, I got to coach professional ball for a living. And things like that. But I will go into detail about exposure in the NCAA, how it's grown to professional sports. Probably another episode. I could go really into depth on that, but maybe another day. Alright, so the next thing I want to talk about, I saw the most interesting thing. And, I'm big on studying another thing about myself. I like to study workout routines and stuff like that. I like to get it lifted. Stuff like that, and I saw the most interesting thing. This got me thinking. So on Instagram the other day, I'm scrolling through, I'm just exploring, I'm checking all these workout stuff, and I see a guy just bench Harley Davidson. You heard me correctly, Harley Davidson. It got me thinking. It's crazy how over the past decade or so, how much stronger we're getting as as people. And so I was scrolling through, I saw a guy deadlift 895, 905. It's just crazy. I mean, I'm just sitting there thinking, I'm like, with all the, obviously, all that's not natural. And you have supplements, and I've actually had to just research, PEDs, supplements, stuff like that. And I just want to say, it's crazy, and those things are dangerous. So if you're planning on, if anybody out there that's getting into weightlifting and they want to try it for themselves, and I would say just be careful because those, of course, obviously have, side effects to them, and, be safe and don't want to damage your body and, et cetera, and things like that. It really got me thinking. It's like, honestly, it's crazy that, just crazy that, we got guys that can, now bench Harley Davidsons, where about probably like 10 years ago, it was shocking to see someone bench like 400 pounds. And that's another thing I've actually noticed. A lot of these high school prospects and stuff in college, they're already, before they make it to college, they're already benching and squatting in the 400 or 500s. It's crazy. And I honestly think that's like a long-term thing, again, doing research. If you start weightlifting at a young age, you can stunt your bones in your body. And to me, that's just crazy. You may be small, but you're going to be walking around being like 5 foot or 4'9", stuff like that if you're not careful. Or, long-term injuries, like, for an example, the bodybuilder legend Ron Coleman. I hope I said his name right. Ron Coleman. He damaged his back. I was watching, he has this new documentary. I recommend checking it out. How he damaged his back and stuff. And it's just, to me, that's just crazy. Watch him in his prime. He's, veins are everywhere. He's like nearly popping out of his shirts or whatever. Stuff like that. So to me, that's also noticed. That's just one thing I've noticed recently, that we as a society, we're getting stronger, stronger, faster. But we also got to be careful what we put in our bodies, because, of course, in the long term effects, we could, damage ourselves if we're not careful. And then there's another thing. This is a little another thing to the side. On Instagram, you can follow him. I think his name's like T Smiley or something like that. He's a guy who has, CP. He's also a body lifter as well. His little background about him, he's got CP, like I said, and his things with, he doesn't have, with a lot of people don't know this with CP, you got, they struggle with functioning of their body. He's like twitching and stuff, but let me tell you, he power cleaned about 205 the other day. He's on Instagram, check him out. He's a pretty strong dude, considering he's got that problem. Just check him out. He always posts positive stuff, and you want to see something positive for the day, go follow his Instagram at itsmiley on Instagram. Okay, so this next subject I want to talk about, this, obviously this is old news now, but this is about, this is in golf. So for all you golfers out there, I'm going to talk about this real quick. And as we all know, Tiger Woods, he just won his last Master in a long time, for years. And I just remember, as soon as he won, everybody was like, oh, Tiger's back on top, Tiger's back on top. He's back to his prime. And I'm over here like, no. My opinion, he's not back. He's just, obviously he's old now. I mean, with that new hairdo, good Lord, he needs to go back to wearing hats. I see bald spots everywhere. Just saying. Ugh. But it's just that I don't think he's back to his prime. I think he just worked hard for that season, and obviously, your work pays off. I think, by the time the Masters go around again this time next year, we won't see him again. I think it's more of a one and done deal. But hey, he's better than what he was, with his little incident with his wife back in the day, and then he just kind of went up the grid for a while. I honestly thought he was like retired. I didn't know he was back in it, but good for him. It's good for him to be back in it, and I hope for the best for him. But he's got all this hype for no reason. I think Tiger's done. He's past his prime. He's just one and done. The best he can do now is just train the next generation of golfers, and hope for the best with him and his career. Obviously, he's a Hall of Famer regardless. Stuff like that. But yeah, my opinion, I think Tiger Woods was just a one and done. And if he wins, and if we come back next year and he's in the Masters and he's just winning again and again and again, then I'll be surprised, and I was underestimated. Man, so, I'm doing research today, or, yesterday, not today, early this morning, trying to get this podcast together. I'm just trying to check out all sports. Like I said, that's how this show's going to be run down. I'm just looking at hockey. The Boston Bruins are obviously, says here, they're back in the NHL Final Cup, or the Stanley Cup, that's pronounced. And I'm just like, man, I remember, I'm from Georgia, and we had a hockey team years ago. The Atlanta Thrashers. I'm just sitting there thinking, like, man, I kind of miss the Thrashers. I actually went to the stadium as a kid, and I was like, man, this is awesome. So I'm sitting there thinking, in general, I wish hockey would come back. Tampa's got a team, and they're hotter than us, and it's over here like, kind of wish we had our hockey team back. But a lot of things, obviously, that's a market. Pro sports are like a business. I hate to say it, but that's how it is. The bottom line, you gotta treat this team like a business, and I wish they'd come back. But yeah, that's my thing about hockey. I hope hockey's gonna be like the MLS and make. As we all know with the MLS, they're expanding. I'm hoping hockey will do the same. Expanding and stuff like that. Even the last hockey game I went to was a college one. My brother's college team, they have a hockey team, and let me tell you, he goes to college in Alabama, and whew, I never seen so many kids, knock each other out on ice. It's crazy, stuff like that. So if you have the money or have the time to go see a hockey game in general, I recommend it. Hockey is one of those sports fun to watch, and obviously it's violent. I want to go into more depth on another episode. I've actually done research on violent sports and how we as a society kind of like violence, but I'm gonna save that for another day. And that's just my thing. I just enjoy hockey, and I miss the Atlanta Thrashers. Alright, so this next subject I want to talk about the Atlanta Falcons, actually, with their quarterback Matt Ryan. He's talking about, I'm just, reading an article earlier today, talking about how, they're talking about his age. Matt Ryan, he's 34, which I did not know that. I thought he was younger than that, but wow, younger or older. I thought he was already in his honestly, I thought he was in his upper 30s, but, hey, what do you know, mid-30s, not that bad. They're sitting there talking about his, age and stuff. He says he wants to play in his 40s, and he's talking about in the article, he's like, hey, I'm not there yet, we got a long way to go, which is true. And he wants to play in his 40s. You obviously got to, stay healthy and, things like that. But it's another thing I was thinking about. We have quarterbacks, obviously staying in the game longer and stuff like that, because, they got all this protection, all this extra padding and helmet. Same thing with Tom Brady. A lot of people thought Tom Brady was going to retire, I believe it was this year or last year, and he's like, nope. That's what I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, wow, you're going to see the expansion, not the expansion, quarterbacks are going to start lasting longer in the NFL than they used to, because, everybody's staying healthy, and not just quarterbacks alone, but, all these other players, from, your O-linemen to your punters, they're all going to stay in the league longer because of health, all these new, all these new methods and things like that. And that's another thing. I remember, everybody remembers Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning was in there for a long time. I think he was in his early 40s, I believe, when he retired. And I think the only reason why he retired is because during, during the season of Super Bowl 50, he got that, I believe it was a hip injury. Yeah, I think it was a hip injury. And he was pretty much out for half the season all the way up until playoffs. And he said, I'm done. Which, in my opinion, I think that's what's going to happen to Tom Brady, Matt Ryan, all these other quarterbacks. One good injury, or not just them in general, one good injury to somebody, which you can't blame them. Long-term injury, you'd be done. You'd be like, all right, time to put up the helmet. This game was fun to play, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm thinking, Obviously, I don't know why this is news, because, in my opinion, I don't know why this is news. Your age shouldn't matter as long as you're healthy and you go out and ball, but what can I say? I'm an Atlanta Falcons fan, and I still have friends and brothers still talk about the Falcons' last Super Bowl and how they blew a 20-something lead, and I get salty and, throw a fit. It is what it is. About 2 or 3 years ago, whatever happens, happens. Alright, so continuing with the Falcons, while I'm on them, I might as well do an update on their injury report. As of May 12th, Kendall Sheffield, he's still questionable. Letting you guys know that. And of course, on May 11th, you have Ricardo Allen, he's still questionable. And then Kenya Neal, of course, everybody's still questionable. And basically, giving the rundown for all these guys, Dan Quinn's basically saying that he's, all these guys are limited to drills during the mini camps and stuff like that. So hopefully the Falcons, in my opinion, if the Falcons were healthy last season, I think they would have made another playoff appearance. So again, being healthy is key. I think that's what the thing is. Once everybody's healthy, they will be unstoppable. But I say that now, but who knows? With the Atlantic curse and stuff like that, we could easily blow a one game where we need it, and come in clutch, and we could possibly blow it. But it is what it is. So that's just our quick little injury rundown for the Atlanta Falcons. All right, so this next subject, we're going to talk about the WNBA. Since the NBA season is pretty much almost over soon. Once the playoffs are over, it's time for the ladies to come out and play. Hashtag our turn next is their slogan, or it was their slogan. I don't know, they changed. And I want to talk about something real quick. Obviously, this is trending on their page and whatnot, and that's the drafting of this woman. I think her name is Han Yu. She's Chinese. She used to play on the national Chinese team, and boy, let me tell you, she is tall. Like, I'm thinking the article said she was 6'9". 6'9". She's sitting there next to what looks like the commissioner, and oh boy, she is tall. And it's crazy. I was reading the article, and they're talking about how, they bring in this one athlete. I can't say her name. She brings in this one player. Obviously, she's 6'9". She's basically going to be dropping buckets on the ladies and, stuff like that. But, hey, all I got to say is good for them. That's a little shout-out to what's trending on their page. The drafting with her. The Liberties got her. And all for the best. And we'll see what happens with the WNBA this season. Okay, so this is one topic that this next thing we're talking about, we're going to talk about this esports kind of stuff, and I will honestly give my opinion on this. And honestly, I know you could consider it a sport, in my opinion, I don't consider esports a sport. Now, the definition, for anybody that's probably going to get upset if they hear this now, the definition of sports is, physical activity and mental. Obviously, there's a lot of strategy, and when you're playing these strategy games, you got to use a lot of your mind, which you also have to use in sports. So there's that aspect of it. It's strategy, and of course, in 2013, the government, officially made e-gamers professional athletes in 2013. But me personally, I don't really see them as an athlete. I kind of see them as entertainment, stuff like that, and that's just my opinion. Obviously, it's grown. We have more and more of these tournaments, and I'm not saying that I'm a hater. I watch the e-game stuff every once in a while, but in my opinion, I don't think you're an athlete. I think you're more of an entertainer, and that's just a gamer. I wouldn't call you an athlete, just a gamer. In general, that's just my whole opinion on the esports in general. I will cover these I will cover them more and more as the show progresses. I'm not going to just leave them out as well, but figured I'll just give my opinion on them. I don't think they're real athletes, and that's the way I see it. Alright, guys, that'll do it for this first episode of More Sports. I hope you enjoy it. I know it's a short one. I kind of wanted to, obviously this being a pilot episode or whatever, I kind of want to see what everybody thinks, see if it'll grow, and as the show goes on, obviously any breaking news in sports, I will, cover it ASAP. And, feel free to leave me questions, and, I see there's a question feedback on this app. Feel free to, send me questions in the next episode or so. I will, respond and give my opinion on whatever it is from, again, I just made the comment of e-gamers to, whatever. Feel free to send me questions, and hope you guys enjoy this podcast. Until then, I'll see you next time.